Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. That's my own reminder here as I wait for Instagram to pick up our live stream so I can hit go live. Mercury is direct. My name is Kristen Ryder, and I am here on this beautiful Thursday, April 10th. To bring episode 26 of Who Are You? Who, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Who are you? Who, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Oh my goodness, we've got the chat going up live. We've got Carol in the chat, Kathy, Wesley, Michelle. Hello, our friends. If you need a reading or anything from me, go to KristenRyder.com. That's my only announcements to all my current clients. I'm going through my Zoom room to clear it out. So download your sessions. And now it is my honor, my privilege. Oh, I'm going to start crying.
Don't do that.
My absolute heart-filled delight to introduce some of the newcomers and some of our tried and true to one of the most masterful, graceful, stunning, wise, intuitive, grounded, loving, accepting, and kick-ass goddess soul sister, whom is a master astrologer, a master Aquarius, a master minister, a metaphysical minister, and just a light to our world. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you to Reverend Robbie Hunt.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to hire you to start doing publicity for me. Thank you very much.
Listen, if you want to do a trade, I will totally do publicity for you and you can do graphics for me.
There we go. Okay. We will be talking afterwards about that mutual agreement there.
Oh my goodness. I love it because oh my gosh. Robbie Hunt, I mean, truly, my heart is just like a glow of sunshine to host you today. Thank you so much for your yes. We've been talking about doing this and coming together for a while. And I know we're all birthing so much as we're also letting go of so much in all of this astrology. And I'm excited for all the things that you are going to be sharing today. And I'm curious, because this is about you. This is how you evolved into all of the gifts that you have as your light service of helping people in this now of these evolutionary and ascension times. But I didn't know you 20 years ago. I don't know that part of you that I feel would be very beneficial for my listeners and watchers to hear. So I guess my first question for you would be, what started you on your spiritual journey?
First off, being a 22-degree Aquarian starts that. The second thing is, I'm going to answer it in this way. People talk about, oh, well, I was raised here and I did that. Let me just bottom line it. I picked up pieces of opportunity as they presented themselves as I went through my life journey. That's literally what it is. I had a particular skill, which was in writing, and that led me to this place, which led me to another place, which led me to another, and it just went on. And part of what I kept seeing was opportunity. It wasn't a defined opportunity, but I could just see that I was going to be better for taking advantage of the new skill, of the new belief, of the new way, of all of that. I think a lot of that just ended up being much more of an internal kind of a knowing, that intuitive sense that we talk about. Here's how I would put it. To come to like a fulcrum point about where I am now. In 2003, I was working at a sign shop. And even that in itself was kind of a whole guided, take advantage of working here kind of a thing. When a woman came in to order a banner for her new metaphysical bookstore, and I happened to be there, and it was called Synchronicity. And I asked her about her bookstore. She invited me to the opening. So I went, and I'm walking in, and here is all this stuff I've never seen. Stuff from pagan things and Wiccan stuff and all that kind of stuff. And my eyes are like, oh my God, what is this stuff? Some of it was fear, some of it was fascination.
Mm-hmm.
But when she came in and invited me to her open house, I knew that there was something important there.
Mm.
And I just saw something said, that's an opportunity. My reasoning mind would have said, it's an opportunity to network, to, be in sales for the sign company I was working for, that type of thing. But I've just come to know when those things land on me, there is something there. Don't question it. Go. So my entire life story is taking advantage of opportunities that felt right without needing to know why.
Mm. I completely understand that journey. And I love it because then the story, which we're not supposed to know anyway, right? The whole point is not to know.
Mm-hmm.
And when, especially because you're 22, we practice step astrology, Christopher
Mm-hmm.
Pacheco step astrology. We've met through Series Joy.
Right.
But that feeling and honoring the feeling so you can understand where the next journey of where you belong is the mastery of that experience. And I'm not an Aquarius. I'm not a 20. I don't have any. Well, actually, I'm in sidereal. I'm a 22 Aries. So
Oh, okay.
tomorrow's my birthday. But I really love the permeation of taking advantage of the opportunity and just allowing the journey of life to reveal to you that you consistently show up for. So this is my question. That's interesting. So have there been, I'm sure there were obstacles. So you did the sign thing and this woman blew your mind open. And then what was the first thing that called your heart's attention in that whole, it's like you walked into a physical Akashic records of your story. Is that right? Yeah.
I think the first thing that really attracted me was I'd always been one who followed metaphysical thought. I just didn't know that's what it was called.
Oh.
So it gave me a vocabulary. It gave me a structure. So there were all these things that I kind of always knew, but didn't have a way to relate to them. I didn't have an on-ramp to them. One other thing that is, for me personally, very telling in that store, which is no longer there, and the woman who owned it sadly passed away in 2007 from a lung cancer. But before all of that started happening, I was helping out in that store one day. And there was somebody on the phone in a crisis situation and wanted to speak with Terry, who was the owner of the store. Her assistant manager, who is also now gone, his name was Bill, They're sitting back there in the office. I come back there to tell them this individual is on the phone. And Terry said, "Oh my God, I cannot talk with her one more time. She's not listening to me, and I just don't know what to do. And I don't know what came over me." But I said, "Well, right now she needs her minister. You are her minister, and you don't get to opt out of it. You need to get on the phone." It like that. I'm like, "Oh, what have I said?" Then Bill looks up and he says, "Well, well, Reverend Robbie."
Back then, I have chills.
And so that place was kind of a vortex, kind of a meeting place of a whole lot of energies, because never had I thought about ministry. Even when I started taking classes at the church where I was ordained, that wasn't part of what I thought about. So again, it's just, if I could impart one life thing to people about the taking advantage of the opportunity, is to also not question the opportunity, because oftentimes that is the only way that God and universe can get into you. Because you have given God universe such a small channel to work with, that maybe if I was open to something bigger, like astrologer or minister, well, someone would have walked in and said, "I think you would be a good astrologer minister here." But that channel wasn't open. This was open. And the only way that God universe could get in was through her coming into the sign shop I worked in and ordering a banner. So if your inner knowing says there's an opportunity there, that is God universe trying to get through to a particular channel. Listen.
Listening. I tell my son all the time, and many people, I'm like, listening is a superpower. It's a superpower. Now, you've mentioned your ministry and your ordination. Were you ordained at that point in the shop, or were you opening up? Oh, no, 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 no. She was your initiation. Wait, did you talk to this woman?
She talked to the woman because she was calling for her. So
Mhm.
she talked with her. At that point, the church where I was ordained, I wasn't even going to that church.
Oh, wow.
That's how far out of field that came in. But really, was it out of field? It was just out of my mental awareness. That's all, you know? And so it was probably, again, some coming from my heart that didn't have a framework to describe it, because I was raised in the Southern Baptist Church down here in the Bible Belt. Women aren't ministers. You ain't supposed to be teaching those men.
Mm,
So I didn't have the framework. And there we go. It's that's why we always keep talking, especially at Serious Joy, about being in your heart,
mhm.
because that is where the wish is coming out. But it's a child, it's an inner child that only speaks in that child vocabulary.
Yeah. So that was your initiation from God universe. And then what were the next evolutions of your journey that turned into your career?
The next evolution was there at Inner Quest. I was ordained along with 6 other wonderful women in 2013 at Inner Quest Metaphysical Christian Church in Alpharetta, Georgia. I was taking classes there, classes about the New Testament, classes about this. I'm just taking classes. When one day, Cindy, the minister there who was teaching us, she hands out this piece of paper and she said, "If you ladies just took a few more classes, if you did this, if you did that, do you realize that you would be eligible for full ordination?" And I'm looking at that list. And again, it was one of those comes over me. And I remember it like it was yesterday. it just, again, popped out of my mouth. I was like, oh, shit. I'm a seminary student. I think I'd better start acting like one.
Mm. Mm.
Again, just opportunities, just taking advantage of opportunities. And there they went. And there it was, April of 2013, ordained. And it wasn't until many, many, many years later that I actually owned being ordained. It was a convenient way to do weddings at that point. But later on, I started realizing, wait a minute, there's ministers, as in the Bible, they go to the orphans, the widows and the orphans. They help go take care of the sick. They do those kind of things. And that it meant I had signed up for something a little bit bigger that now I was starting to understand the consequences of. And I had to own what those consequences are.
And that's the funny thing when we listen to our hearts, in my opinion. If we knew the consequences prior, would we have said yes to the opportunity?
That's where our mind gets in the way.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I can feel, we're both a little bit psychic. I can feel the wave of, God, universe, consciousness just saying, this is it, in your heart. And it's such a different frequency than when we are in the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you were ordained, and then you've been studying astrology. What introduced you to astrology?
Going outside on a Saturday night in the summertime and laying on the grass and looking up at the sky. And my interest in astrology started first with astronomy and just being fascinated, because back then, at least in this part of Georgia, you could lay outside at night and still see the stars. Urban sprawl, you can't do that quite so much now, but back in that time you could. So I could see all of those stars and also hear the stock cars running from the local stock car racing track. And it was wonderful. And so I would lay there and just look at the stars. And I started reading a few books. Somehow, and I don't even know how, what I thought was like an astronomy book at the library was an astrology book. To then find out there's this thing called astrology, and you have a sign that's related to the sun. So I never thought it was bogus. I always thought it was something, but I didn't get serious about trying to study it until 2006, which is at the same time, at the end of 2006, early 2007. I started my study of in seminary at that time, and I started in 2007 or 8. I think it was 2008, studying a particular Native American medicine wheel. So I had 3 things going at one time, studying astrology, metaphysics, and the medicine wheel. I was deep in it, but also there was a whole lot of stuff going on with Neptune at that particular point in my chart, so it makes a lot of sense.
Wow. So God universe is literally like on the back of your heart chakra, like, hey, we're here. We've arrived. Time for you to start. Oh my goodness.
I think that God universe works like a magician quite often. It does some smoke and mirrors, not in order to fool you, but to get around you. And so what you were talking about earlier, that if we had known what the consequences were, the mind would have said no. So in this particular case, God universe says, okay, let's deflect a little bit here. I'm not saying the consequences are not there, but let's just don't look at them. Let's look over here, which is what magicians do.
Yeah.
Pay attention to here. Don't look at this hand over here that's doing all the work. Look here, look here, look here. When you figure out God universe is doing that, and then something comes on your path, this is faith. Oh, every time I've taken advantage of that, it's worked out for me. Why is this one going to be any different?
That's wonderful. And I love that you got introduced to it, like, literally through the stars, by looking through the stars, laying on the planet, and just dabbling in things that you knew you were your yes to new opportunities. So you're ordained, you're getting educated in astrology, self-educate. Did you, like, take classes and stuff, or were you just like, "Nope, self-led?" Yeah, I'm a little self-led myself.
Oh, self-led in that, and you and I were talking about this backstage. This is episode 26.
Yes!
So 26 is a Serious Joy, where you and I are contributors. 26 is a Grand Master Saturn degree. I call myself Saturn's Defender because I had bought an astrology book. I bought one. I still have it over here as just a reminder. And it was called The Only Astrology Book You'll Ever Need. Little red book about so big. I bought it. I come home, put it on the table. The next night, I'm going to read it. When I get this like sickening feeling to my stomach and like, don't do it. Oh, okay. I wish you'd told me that before I bought it, but okay. So I put it down. 2 days later, maybe somewhere around there, the power goes off. Now I'm in a condo, and some accident had happened, took down a substation, and so for like about a half a mile around, no power, dark skies, and I'm looking, and I see this bright part, and it turned out to be Saturn, and I literally started feeling Saturn say to me, "If you'll come out here and just look at me, I will teach you what I'm all about." Okay. And got the whole thing of get a notebook. I wish I knew what day that was. I wish I knew. But the whole thing was I grabbed a chair, a camping chair, went out into the common area. I'm looking up and I'm just writing down. And Saturn's telling me, I'm not this planet of restriction. I am not trying to screw with your life. I blah 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 blah. Eventually, I sat with every planet and I let them teach me.
Mm. Mm. Oh my God, I just feel that to the core, because those are the most authentic ways, in my opinion, to learn, for us to be able to express our truest and purest and most authentic teachings, which you are a very potent teacher, especially coming in as the rebel, as the defender of Saturn, because Saturn is the original ruler of Aquarius, right? It's the grandfather, the original ruler of Aquarius. So I love that you got grandfathered in to astrology.
I love that. I am going to own that now. I hadn't even thought about that. I
Oh
love
my God, I
it.
love it. I love that I helped you come up with something. Saturn
I love
grandfathered
it.
you in to astrology. Oh my God, I knew something was going to come up with that 26, but I wasn't sure. Because when we were scheduling, I was looking at the moon, and you have a Virgo moon. I was like, oh, you have a Virgo moon. This is what our schedules were. Let's honor your Virgo moon, because honoring, that's the thing also, that you have shifted people's belief matrix with Saturn in your teachings, in your own work, and how I've come to know you through our work with Serious Joy, that you've shifted the belief to the great teacher. And, we've all been so mind swiped. Yeah, that's a good one.
Hmm.
Mind swiped by powers that were trying to control us for our light, in my opinion. It's the easiest, nicest way I can say that. But you've really been initiated by the stars and shifted so many deep-seated beliefs in the astrology community and everyone's belief matrix to say, and that's a gift. like the hardest thing in our life, turning lemons into lemonade. And it's
Mhm.
what and that's the most potent thing when I'm having a meltdown of whatever, and I'm like, "Sister, can you help me out?" And you're like,
Mhm.
"Okay," and you do that Aquarius, like, whole step out. I call you the 80,000-foot view with some of the things we've experienced, to that highest view. You're like, "Well, what about this?" And the wisdom of your questions are so multidimensional to assist people in getting out of their own way.
My whole goal is to have you own your astrology and then go. Go. I don't want lifelong clients. Now that sounds cruel, and I don't mean it that way. But if I'm only doing astrology stuff or any kind of stuff for just one group of people constantly, you're not growing
Mm,
and somebody else can't come behind you. And so it's one of the things I learned at InterQuest. InterQuest as a church keeps reminding itself we're a revolving door. People come in here for healing. They come in here for greater teaching. They may come in here to get more stuff to be ordained or whatever, but we're a revolving door. People come in, they do their stuff. Some of them stay to keep the structure in place, but 80% of the people are supposed to travel through. So if we're an astrologer, if we're a tarot reader, if we're any of those things, people are here to travel through. You are getting them from one space to another. And so we've got to see ourselves doing that work and helping people own whatever it is that they're coming to us. Doctors are the same way. Okay. We're supposed to get them to a point of healing, restoring something to its original function. That's my definition of healing, to then move to the next place. I can't have you in here with your busted knee every week. And so, yeah, that 30,000, 80,000 foot view does help me see that sometimes. And it's hard for people to see that when they're right here. But that's the job of all of us. And if we will do that, we'll be busier than we can stand.
that is so true. And that's the magnetism of the manifestation, power of attraction, being in our integrity. Because I agree. I do not want to have a lifelong client. I get sick of my own stories, like just like, oh my goddess, like, am I done with myself yet? Like, okay, no, we're never done. It's an
Mhm.
ever evolving process. And that brings to heart a question, because I've seen some other light workers posting this on social media or whatever, and they're saying, stop focusing on healing. What do you think about that statement?
You have to stop focusing on it because my goal is to see your perfected nature. It doesn't mean that if I see your less than perfected nature that, is carrying around a big old stick to hit me over the head, that does not mean I need to put myself in proximity so that you can get me right in the skull. But it means I have to see the part of you that doesn't have the baseball bat in your hand.
Mm,
And to me, that's what it means to not focus on the healing. Healing is such a big deal that if the people can't get their hands around it, if we can just focus on something that is more life affirming, let it take care of what needs to happen.
mhm. I mean, and here we are at Saturn again at 25 degrees Pisces, a grand master Pisces ruled degree. And Venus is getting ready to turn direct
Go
there
direct.
well this weekend. And This is something that, I mean, I've heard Pam Gregory talking about. I have studied Dr. Emoto's work 20 years ago at Veda Austin. I do sound healing, and it's what we collectively and consciously focus on is what we create.
Mhm.
So, what is your interpretation of what Saturn is helping us to learn and discern at this Grandmaster Pisces rule degree in this now?
I'll back up to talking about healing because you are a sound healer. I struggled with the metaphysical definition of healing for a while.
Mm,
And this is the good thing about learning metaphysics and metaphysical terms and how energy works. It allows you to take a culture or a historic era or something like that out of it. And that way, that definition works regardless of what period of time you're trying to apply it to.
mm.
To me, healing is returning something to its original function. It means that, okay, if you were bad on your teeth and you're going to have to lose 3 teeth, have a big implant put back there, that's healing. A lot of people are focused on, I'm going to metaphysically try to turn that whole thing with the teeth around and make them the way they were when I was 18. Now, could that happen? Yep. But is the channel open for that or that? Because that's going to be a big channel that's got to go through. Okay.
Right?
But your channel's only here.
Mm,
So, what Saturn teaches us is energetic appropriateness, meaning the energetic reality is you're a pregnant woman trying to give birth to a 20-pound baby. That channel only so big. There's consequences if that big headed baby comes through that channel. Are you prepared for those consequences? If not, maybe we find another way to accomplish this. That life is not supposed to be complicated, but
mm.
life does require you to wait because the things that you want involve somebody else or something. Everything from spirit must come through the physical. And so you got to wait for the physical to get there. What do you do while the physical is getting lined up? You take advantage of opportunity.
Boom! Yes. And
There we
that
go. Teaching is done for today. We're okay. That's
all
it.
right. Well, that's clean, everybody. We've crushed it. Bow down,
Mhm.
Robbie, Reverend. Reverend
So
Robbie.
Saturn says if you are energetically aligned with something, the people, places, and things are going to show up when they are. Wait for that. Wait for Saturn to be able to bring that to you because then you're not having to force your way. You're not having to burn a midnight oil. You're not having to do all that kind of stuff. It doesn't mean you won't be working. It doesn't mean that you won't be making choices, but it means you won't have to force it into place. That you think you're wielding some kind of a 2x4 to make that happen. And Saturn and Uranus go, you want to see a 2x4? Here. It's like that. It's like that scene from Crocodile Dundee when the guy comes to him with a knife and he just very casually goes, that's a knife? Here's a knife. That is what happens with the planets. So let them put things into place. And what
Yeah.
Saturn, well, and just what Saturn is showing us right now is that the big tool in that is get your energetic alignment with however you define God universe.
Mhm.
Because I don't care how you define God universe, through Christian terms, through any of this other kind of stuff, as long as it does not require you to force against their will somebody else, I do not care what it is, you are in alignment with God universe. The Native American teachings call this your children's fire. You don't cross children's fire.
That's
If your degree of faith says, I must come over there and grab Kristen and make her be this way, this is not God universe. So if the path that you've chosen, don't care what it is, don't care if it requires you meditate in the nude or you go to church every Sunday. If that is the deal, you're good to go. Saturn says lean into it. Saturn's the old wise teacher. And Saturn says every teacher you need will come in time. Saturn rules time.
Yes, it does. And so, uh, divinely and presently stated, and I concur. Um, and that's interesting because, well, so sorry, I'm getting yelled at now. Not by you.
Sorry, here, let me pull it back. I didn't mean to.
I love it. I love it. So it brings, there's so much discussion in the spiritual communities, astrology communities about this ascension process. And, I love that you brought in the power and force because there's been so much of that in my own life the last year and a half where I thought I had to do this and my masculine side and my ego and now we're working on all this Saturn and Pisces with the we go, and it's like you're talking about the power and for
Power and movement.
power and movement, and what's coming up is holding the space, like holding the space versus forcing something to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The feminine versus the masculine, it's got to go that way.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of circles we're talking about the mother consciousness of mother God universe. I discuss that often in my work.
Mm-hmm.
What is your understanding of or your interpretation of that level of consciousness, and I want to hear your interpretation of this ascension process.
To me, ascension, and I've been playing with this for the last couple of weeks. I had a definition that I'm actually going to add to it. Ascension is moving to an elevated level of consciousness.
Mhm.
The part I'm adding to it is that it enables you to master the physical in a new way.
Mm.
When we talk about the ascended masters, part of the stories we tell is walking through walls, walking on water, bilocating. With every degree of ascension that you have, you're just elevating how you deal with the physical. So when you're down here in this lower way of being, well, the physical is working on you, not the other way around. You're
Mhm.
sick all the time. You're not happy. Your house is dirty. Just a bazillion things. But when you decide to just lift that up 1 degree, you start to see that the physical coming back to you is a little bit better. Every degree, a little bit better, a little bit better. Ascension is a new consciousness that is enabling you a greater way, a greater toolbox to navigate with the physical. That's all it is. And when you think about these teachers who did these great things, when that individual we call Jesus the Christ, Yeshua, as his real name should be pronounced, The ultimate was they told him, get yourself off of that cross. If you're the Son of God, get yourself off that cross. And he's thinking that's freaking child's play. Let me show you what I got. Now, I don't know that we need to be on a cross, okay? But when you start feeling confident about whatever this spirit is that you are aligned with, spirit needs the physical through which to come through. And you start imbibing. You get that. But we also live in a physical world. A physical world that is made up of the masculine and the feminine. So you start learning in a physical world what out there is masculine and what's feminine. And you start learning now how you're going to navigate with both. Do I need to be in my masculine to literally take beets or carrots out of the ground? Yeah. But that whole growth process of that beet and carrot, feminine.
Mm-hmm.
Because all life comes through the feminine.
That's a wrap. All life comes through the feminine. And that was a big mind swipe. Many are beginning to witness. Some of us that have been studying for a little bit longer have accepted that a while ago. Not to get into victim consciousness of repression or whatever all that whole story was, which is just to create fear, which is just to disempower, which is just to blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, but Kristen, for years, the feminine was repressed.
That's true. Oh, absolutely.
But life didn't stop. Life didn't stop.
No.
Life will find a way. The Grandmaster is always Mother Life.
And the proof is walking down a city street and seeing a dandelion come up right through those concrete cracks.
Yep.
And dandelion is so good for clearing spike proteins and all sorts of things that are just natural for your cells.
Yeah.
Good goddess.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, this is interesting. So the next question I have is, what is your interpretation of divine neutrality?
Oof.
Yes!
Oof. Metaphysics on the fly, huh?
Oh,
Okay.
you can handle it. I know you can.
Whether it has been metaphysical Christian teaching or teaching from other elder ways, the idea that which we call the divine, that it has an opinion, doesn't make logical sense. Because opinion is based on circumstances. And circumstances constantly change. With every thought, with every deed, consequences change. The highest way to be consistent with any circumstance, regardless of the era or the people involved, is love. That is the one thing that works in every situation, no exceptions. So that is why this thing that we call the divine has to be in that place. And while love feels active, love actually is neutral because it doesn't force. Which is why I said earlier, if you're involved in something that says you need to go out and get those people and make them set their butt in your church, no. So love is neutral because it doesn't expect an outcome. It doesn't do anything. It is given for the joy of giving. That's it. That's how I would explain it on the fly. Pop-up test.
Listen,
My
you knew I was gonna throw something your way.
I should, yes, my intuitive sense should have said, "Watch out for that, Kristen. You know how she
Well,
is."
I love that you're like my intuitive sense in your mind, and it's so and that's so beautifully put. Love is the neutral zone, and love is unconditional love is the neutral zone, right? Like we've all been, coming through it. Okay, so now, and this is, I love that our conversation has ebbed and flowed through so many different fields of your mastery. And we are in some humbling times. Astrology is 50% of the equation in my belief matrix. There's eons and eons and eons of energy available to us, as you have shared some of those wise teachings with us. However, this shift is real. So, yeah, some of those folks that are watching this show that, don't listen to us every day on Serious Joy or,
Mhm.
all of those other things, is there an offering in, like, we're at a step 21 about our beliefs in Aries. Oh my God, Chiron's going to conjunct the sun, or the sun's going to conjunct Chiron tomorrow. And then we got a full moon this weekend.
Mhm.
So we've got quite a weekend coming up. Is there some offering of love that you could bestow upon the audience today?
Mm.
Hmm.
We think of love as Hallmark movies,
Mhm.
flowers on Valentine's Day. We have so removed ourselves from what love is. I still don't think we know how to define it, but I'm pretty sure it isn't the Christmas Hallmark movie, and it's not just flowers on Valentine's Day, and it's not doing the kind of thing. Love is allowance.
Mm.
Again, I don't have to allow you in my house if I think you got a bat in your hand
Mhm.
and that you intend to do something with that bat. I do not need to allow you onto my Facebook page if you are telling me how much I'm about to go to hell for being a minister. Allowing doesn't mean that I'm going to subject myself to it,
Mm.
but allowing means I'm going to use the physical to find out why you are in my field to begin with.
Mm.
Maybe there's some part of love I haven't learned.
I love that you did that. It's because you mean it. You mean it.
So let's put it in terms of what is going on right now.
Mm.
I don't care which side of the political debate you are on. You are looking at the other side. Pardon the incredibly blunt way I'm about to put this, a minister using the F word, but you're standing there and you're pointing at them and you are saying in your heart, you are fucking crazy.
Mm.
Love says, you're just in a whole different dance with it than I am. I don't know your karma. I don't know your past lives. I don't know your heart. None of that. But I do know one thing. when I look at you through the eyes of fucking crazy, what comes back to me? Fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Stop looking at people through the lens of fucking crazy
Mhm.
and start looking at what it is that you do want around you.
Mhm.
If you support a particular view, you do not help it by going over here to the other one and doing something that is just mean.
Hurtful. Yeah.
And those people may never hear you say that you think that they are fucking crazy. But I know what will hear: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Chiron, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, the moon, the sun. 12 disciples, 12 planets. I'm thinking they're trying to teach us something. The most loving thing you can do right now is be in that spot. And the thing is, when you've seen it work, you don't have any hesitancy about being there anymore.
Yeah.
I've had to do it with the life I lead with 71 other units, 76 other units in this condominium that I live in. And the world will tell you that you are setting yourself up to be a sucker. I don't know who had the last laugh. These people who have engaged in all this stuff, or the people who ascended to a different way of using the physical and says, I think I would like to go to Europe right now. Go. I'm done sleeping now after 3 days. I think I will resurrect. Keep the end game in mind.
The end game, the eyes on the prize of, steering our consciousness towards where we want to go, that unified feeling of love. We all want to feel love. We all want to be loved. We all want to receive love. We all want to build with love. Like, that is the neutral point of humanity. And it's all about the heart,
Mm-hmm.
all about the heart. And adding more compassion in these fiery times, as things will continue to heat up the rest of this Aries season and the rest of our lives. I mean, through 2026, we've got like quite the shifts going on.
Mm-hmm.
And the compassion is, it's almost like Venus's love, and Neptune, we've talked about this, is the higher octave of love, and Neptune's in Aries now. And bringing the compassion of all the lessons that Neptune taught us, and Saturn continues to clean up behind it, to be able to act out of that compassion instead of the "you're fucking crazy."
Yes, and here's the other thing where it makes sense. If you want to be a good astrologer, be a good astronomer. That
Mm.
whole octave thing of Venus and Neptune, Neptune is that higher expression of Venus. Number one, Venus spins in retrograde. She's the only planet that spins differently than all the others. And she's a freaking hot mess. We can land a probe on Venus and it lasts for about an hour. She's full of all kinds of gas that is so harmful. And what do? We call her the goddess Venus of beauty and love and harmony. And she is anything but. But we still see her that way.
Hmm.
So if you've got a friend who's the opposing political party, who you're seeing as Venus, see him as Neptune.
Yes. Yes. Oh my God, I'm being silly right now because I'm like, well, she's got all that gas and she's going to be coming up to Neptune in a fire sign. Boom!
Actually, there will be a boom. But
Oh,
let's go back to the beginning. It's another opportunity.
it's another opportunity.
And an opportunity, look, I've said this before on Pep Talks at Serious Joy. I do not like it when astrologers talk about, oh, you got to do this right now or it will never happen. Bull shift.
Full shift.
What? The divine can't find some way to come through?
Right? You really think God has this kind of view for
Right.
like, what? Like,
Right. So is it the last time in this physical body that alignment is probably going to happen? Yeah, probably so. So we're in a period of time where for the next 400, 500 years, we're not going to see this again. So it's an opportunity to take advantage of an opportunity. But what if you miss it? What if you're still wrestling with ego and that kind of thing? And if you are, that's fine. Cool. Raise your hand, anybody who has not had to struggle with that. So if you're in that place, okay, maybe this is not the opportunity you're going to take advantage of. Cool. Be ready for the next one.
Yep.
Because that opportunity may not be this big alignment that won't happen again for another 400 years, but it's the moon on your sun, which happens every 28 days.
Yep.
Look for the opportunity.
Because that's how Mother, Father, God works. And that's how our consciousness is excited to work. I want to plant that seed in everybody's consciousness because we can do it.
Yeah, we can.
We are doing it.
I am surrounded by people who are doing it. And they're surrounded by people who are doing it. There's a very energetically vocal minority.
And we continue to celebrate and unify and reunite and find each other every moment of every day.
And it doesn't have to be reconnecting with somebody at your yoga studio or something like that. It could be that 5 minutes at the grocery store line. I use that example a lot because we all go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
And or a department store or something like that. That interaction that you get to have with that person behind the counter, even if it's a self-checkout, there's someone around you. That right there, that one little interaction just can change everything. Opportunity.
It's knocking at every step if our hearts just say yes to it.
And I just had something come to me. Interesting. I don't know if it means anything. The first probe that was sent to Mars, its name was Opportunity.
Shut the front door.
Yeah, its name was Opportunity. And the one that's up there now, I follow it on Twitter, but I can't remember the name of the probe that's up there now. Somebody put it in the comments. Somebody Google it real quick and put it in the comments, or I'm going to go nuts not knowing.
Opportunity, but I also love that we're ending, we're coming to a close here with Venus and Mars, the masculine and the feminine, and we all have those elements within us as we're all navigating, as we raise the frequency of that next step or degree of our consciousness for ascension, because we're doing it in this physical body, but it's all getting in there, it's all coming up there. But I love that's even more unifying. And Robbie Hunt, you are one of the most amazing souls I've met this life journey. And I am so grateful, fulfilled, honored, humbled, fucking grateful again to be witness to the wisdom and the gifts that you have to share. And I want everyone to know, if you need to look for Robbie Hunt, she's still thinking about what that
Oh,
wrote.
I see it now. Kathy Kalani, she said there's two, curiosity and perseverance, and that is correct. Thank you, Kathy. Oh,
She's
God,
still,
I can go to bed sleeping tonight.
oh my God. Curiosity and perseverance. And that's so, curiosity is childlike. Perseverance, we're never giving up. Like, that's why we all came here to do all the things that we do.
Yeah.
And y'all, I want go to Bite Size Astrology to find this goddess and all of the unlimited gifts and wisdom she has to offer. We, of course, are both on Serious Joy. And okay, yeah, Robbie, now that you have the answer of curiosity and perseverance, I was like, okay, Kathy will come in with it, as she did. Thank you, Kathy. What would be your parting words for anyone witnessing this recording or this now?
People say William Shakespeare said this, and then there's others who say he did not. It doesn't matter who said it. It's damn good advice. Know thyself.
Mm.
Enjoy the journey of knowing yourself.
Oh,
However,
Robbie Hunt.
hold on,
Oh,
hold on.
got more. She's got more.
I do have something. You've been very kind and very gracious about what you've said about me, and I thank you so much. But I think that it's time that your audience learn a little bit about how wonderful you are. So allow me parting words to say some of that. You and I have gone through a journey together. We don't need to tell anybody else about it. We know what it's been. What I have watched you do, how you have stood out there in front of everyone and showed them this is how you do it. Even if you fall down, you've let people see you fall down. You've let people see you rise up. You let people see you. And even when those people who saw you went, nah, okay, fine. But you've continued to stay who you are. And the name of your show is Who Are You? Well, who is Kristen? She is consistent. She has this heart that is like massive. She's always entertaining, and you never know what's going to come out of her mouth, which is wonderful because so many other people are so freaking predictable. But the last thing I would say is the grace by which I watched you go through that hurricane. The epitome of grace under pressure. And I know the other pressures that you've lived under over the last couple of years. Private breakdown, public grace. That is something to be celebrated. And I just want to go out on your show, letting people know who you are and celebrating you. And I think people should put something in the comments that also celebrates you.
Daggone it, Robbie. Oh, sister. Thank you. My heart, as you can see, receives that wholeheartedly. And I am so grateful for you.
As I am for you.
I love you.
You know I love you. Now everyone else knows too.
We're out of the closet. Hoo, 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 hoo. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Robbie Hunt
Thank you.
and me. Oh my goodness. Thank you so very much for such a beautiful show, Robbie. And everybody, go to bitesizeastrology.com if you need a reading. If she's booked, go to kristenryder.com for a reading, or all of the magic that we continue to celebrate and support each other in. I thank you all for taking time to tune in to all that we all truly are. Robbie, stay backstage, sister.
I will. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. I love you all.
Love you.